What is up, everybody? It is time for my finally time for my Final Fantasy 16 review for PS5. Note, before I start, I will provide no spoilers, as always, so I will keep everything in vague when I talk about stuff. I'll always give my opinion, like the ending, middle, start, and all that stuff, so no spoilers for the video. And I'm gonna say before I also start, how many hours did I have? Now, I did get the platinum, as always, as the title says. I spent over 150 hours in the game, so it was a very long game. I didn't use any like cheat rings. I always play on hardest difficulty, which there's only two difficulties in the beginning, and there's the Final Fantasy mode when I replay the game. And when I replayed the game, I did do some stuff too. So, and I also took over 200 pictures and probably like 40 videos saved. So a lot of hours into just like, you know, taking pictures and stuff like that. So a lot of hours. If I didn't do that, I would probably take maybe like 120. On Twitter, people who have similar like gameplay style as me, I've seen people get between 150 and 130 hours. So I spent a lot of hours in the photo mode and stuff like that. Now, here's the thing. Here's the big thing. I think that the game is incredible, but I will start with the bad points because some people say that I've basically like had a lot of stuff that's too good to say about this game. So I'll get the bad stuff out of the way first, right? I usually always do them in the end, but in this scenario, I'm gonna tell you what I didn't like about the game at first. Now, obviously, it was incredible, right? I love the game, but the biggest thing that I think a lot of people will say about this game is the performance. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. However, I did play in performance mode, and it wasn't like, it was like in gameplay section, it was pretty decent, but when you walk around the sections, it wasn't. So there's not much I can say there. DualSense, not so much. Like, they didn't use DualSense at all. The most DualSense you use is basically when you open a door, just hold down R2. That's like the most use of the DualSense. So I wish they would use DualSense a little bit more, but you know, hey, what can you do? And in terms of like gameplay stuff, side quests in the end are very good. So I would say that side quests in the end of the game are some of the best things in the whole game, right? But like 90, maybe 80% of them are just filler side quests, like typical JRPG stuff. I expected that though. So, but it's still there. Like, I have to mention it because they're not amazing, but in the end, they're actually very good, especially the longer ones. But the most is just go there, do this, do that. I did them all anyway in the first playthrough, so yeah, there's that. And in terms of like pure gameplay wise, I would say the game is actually too easy. On Final Fantasy, I think the Final Fantasy mode that you play in New Game Plus, that difficulty should be the third difficulty in the first playthrough, and I think the Final Fantasy mode should have even a harder difficulty mode. Now, I didn't use any rings, I'll just use the normal potions. I didn't use a single, like, you know, one of those potions when you use X-Layer, I think it's called, when you just die and you revive yourself, and that never happened to me. I never used it. I never even bought it. So, and in previous Final Fantasy games, I would like use that a lot, you know, in the games. So I do think it was a little bit too easy, even like for the first playthrough. I play obviously on the action mode. There's like action mode and a story mode. And story mode is like super easy, I assume. So yeah, there's that. So that was like the more like of the things that I did enjoy about the game. Now, however, let's get into the story at first. The story is like, I think it started out incredible for the first half of the game. It's more like, you know, this political type of stuff, like Game of Thrones-ish type of stuff. And then like the second half, or like maybe the last third of the game, it's like typical just, oh, here's Final Fantasy all over again. You know, it is like what you expect from a Final Fantasy game. Oh, here's a big god and all that stuff. So yeah. In terms of story-wise, it seems that maybe have two writers, I think. But even though a lot of things didn't get explained that I wished got explained, they're basically, without spoiling, they were like, okay, here are these regions, here's what's going on in the world. And then later on, it was like, oh, but here's the big boss, basically. Just, oh, here we go, just ignore it. We have a big boss in the end that you're gonna fight, and he's gonna explain why you're gonna fight him, basically. Now, they try to explain the best they can, but I still wish that they would have explored and explained a lot of things that happened in the first half of the game, especially with the different regions, all that stuff. So, the story very good, but not phenomenal. Now, in terms of like ranking the story in the series, I would put maybe in the middle. Not the best, not the worst, but it's not why I love the game as much. You know, story is good, but it's not the reason why I love the game. Now, something that I do like more though, that I think every Final Fantasy is good at, it is the characters. The characters I absolutely love. Now, the big thing a lot of people talk about is there's no party, but they make the party for you because you play as Clive all the time. So because you're Clive all the time, and obviously you have your dog with you all the time, you have things like, you know, Jill is incredible. One of my favorite, like she is my favorite character in the whole game, right? Or well, even like one of my all-time Final Fantasy characters ever. And you have Sid. You have different characters. I'm not gonna go into all of them, but in different types of moments in the game, you have different parties, but they always set up for you. Except maybe in the end where like you have to do some specific missions, and they're all gonna be with you until you beat the game, basically. So that's the one exception. During the end. But otherwise, like, I don't mind it. It's different, yes, and I wish maybe you could organize them better, but in the menu when you press option or start, you can always see them in the pixel-wise, who's always in the party. I just like that type of stuff. So character-wise, top tier. Story-wise, not as good as other Final Fantasy games, but still like pretty decent, you know, pretty decent. So I absolutely love the characters. Now, I'm gonna get into the two best things about this game. And also I'm going to talk about trophies later, because I know a lot of people asked about that. The absolute shining part of this game is the gameplay. And it is the typical Final Fantasy game? No. It is more like Devil May Cry combined with like some different stuff. Devil May Cry 5 specifically. But there are 6 different basically elements you can use, right? Gameplay elements. I'm not going to spoil what they are and stuff like that. But there are 6 different, and you always can have 3 with you, right? And let's say you upgrade one ability point to maximum. Let's say, you know, I'm using Ifrit, and Ifrit has an ability where I dash, right, forward. If I upgrade the ability to max, I can use Ifrit's ability on, like, for example, if I have Shiva on, I can use Ifrit's ability on Shiva. So if you have, in the end, when you have everything maximally upgraded, when you get the platinum, right, you can basically take any class and put any abilities on them, making the gameplay even better, right? So very good stuff with the gameplay. Now, the reason why I absolutely love the gameplay, and I do think it's a bit, like, again, it's a bit easy, but the Final Fantasy mode, when you play New Game Plus, made me appreciate the gameplay even more, because it was a little bit harder, not that much harder, because you're the OP and you know the game and stuff like that, but the combos that you do when you stagger someone, and you just, you know, you want to damage them up to 1.5 of your damage when they're staggered. That is incredible. Like, I absolutely love doing the different stuff, you know, the different abilities. And my favorite ones was definitely when you put down the thing with Sid's ability. I forgot what it's called, but you put a thing down and with electricity, and you just spam that thing, and it's gonna do even more damage. And you just do damage and damage. And I think at one point, I think my biggest damage in one of these staggering moments, like you see now, was about like just over 300k, and just hitting that is so satisfying, because everything has to be just perfectly before they go up again. So the gameplay wise, absolutely love it. Now, a lot of people say, okay, but what about turn-based and stuff? I mean, Final Fantasy has always been different, you know. That's why, like, Final Fantasy X, like, you can't tell me Final Fantasy X is the same as Final Fantasy 13, like Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy 4. They were different games. Like, sometimes I feel like people who complain about this game have not played this game, and have not even played the other games. Like, that's what I truly think. Like, I don't understand the argument sometimes. And that's just my opinion, but sometimes, like, I just don't understand, because Final Fantasy 4, like, I played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, not 11, not 12, 13 series, not 14, 15, and 16, and then Crisis Core. That's like, I play a lot of the Final Fantasy games, so it's like saying that oh, it's always been turn-based. Like, no, it hasn't. Like, you can't tell me like Final Fantasy X is the same as 6. Like, you just can't. Like, it's not the same game. It is like, I can tell you a lot of different stuff about it. So them going this direction, I'm all for it. Do I think 17 is going to be the same? No, maybe a little bit different, but I don't think it's maybe. Like, I have no idea, because 16 is way different than 15. 15 was just basically spam and attack, and it works out. So like 13 was very different from 12, and I think like the next game is maybe gonna be more depth to it. I'm not sure, but yeah, gameplay wise, absolutely love it, absolutely love it. Now I will say one thing that I didn't like about the gameplay, or like, you know, one of the things I miss about Final Fantasy is the RPG elements. Because I did all side missions, I always get, you know, the optional gear and stuff. When something new came up, I just upgraded it, you know, armor, sword, all that stuff. Health potions, all that stuff. So I never even had to grind for anything, which is good because the game is long. However, I do miss the things where like, okay, I want more like specific stuff. Okay, you put this here, it's gonna do more damage over here. You put this sword, it's gonna do more element damage to this thing. There's none of that, but I'm not sure if it's needed, but I do miss that though. More of the classic RPG elements. It's basically non-existent in this game. Which makes sense because, again, do you want to really grind this game? Like, I didn't have to grind because I did all the side missions, so yeah. Now, here is the absolute best part. Like, gameplay one was the best part, but this is like even like this is the main part of the game. It is the main boss fight of the game. Usually how it goes is you fight in your human form and then you turn into, you know, the absolute biggest fight that you can possibly imagine, like how it goes. And it's like one fight tops the other and tops the other. But I would say my favorite fight in the game was so many other was Hugo, obviously. Absolute, like that was like how long it was, what you do, like, and stuff like that. Like there's even a boss fight when you fight in space, basically. I'm not gonna say how you get it up there, but you basically fight in space several times even. No, very typical Final Fantasy stuff happened. But yeah, the main boss fights are absolutely incredible. Like I truly feel like, in terms of like the whole game, I would say this is maybe my favorite game when it comes to just pure boss fights. Now I would put obviously Souls games up there, God of War games up there. Those two come to mind. You know, Metal Gear Solid games are very like specific with boss fight. They're very different, right? But in terms of just pure hype, pure gameplay, pure like just, oh, what the fuck just happened? Like this game is absolutely incredible with boss fights. So the best part about the game is the main boss fights. However though, the side missions I mentioned before, they're like but the side missions where you fight the optional boss fights, those are very good because you actually do fight some very cool boss fights. And the hardest boss in the game I also think is a side optional boss fight. Unless maybe like one of the Odin fights is a little bit harder, but however, the optional boss fights are very good. Those are actually fun. Now find them is a bit weird. Most of them are just found randomly, and then I have to look up some to find them. But yeah, boss fights absolutely the best thing about the game. And something like one of the biggest reasons why the boss fights are so good is because the music in this game, it fits perfectly. Like the music, like obviously we knew the music is gonna be good from Final Fantasy 14 because he's working on it, right? But it's still up there. Like when you walk around and stuff, the music is perfect. When you fight, the music is perfect. When you build up to fight, the music is perfect. So the original soundtrack to this game is absolutely S tier. It is incredible how amazing it is. So soundtrack, perfect. It fits perfectly. It is incredible. I even listen to like the main theme song sometimes when I work out. I have to put like all the songs on Spotify, which they should be up by now. They really should be up. And let me see more. You can replay every stage, so if you miss some material or something, you can always go back and replay the stage. Yeah, the replay value is very good. New Game Plus was there day one, huge plus for me, and obviously it's needed for a platinum. Now let's talk about the platinum trophy. There's really not that much to talk about because you do all side missions, you put every ability you have on you. There's like some specific gameplay stuff you have to do. 80% I just got by trying different stuff out, not that hard. Main story wise, and upgrade your upgrade Clive 100% with all abilities. That's one trophy. Beat a boss without taking damage. You can do that in stage replays. And then of course beat the game in Final Fantasy mode. So it's basically get 100%, beat the game on hard mode, and do some gameplay stuff, and that's it. So not a lot of collectibles. The collectibles are basically the side missions you do, and that is it. Then you have to you go to a letter thing and read some letters and stuff. But there's not. I actually enjoy that there's not a lot of collectibles in the game. Like the collectibles that you get is from the side quest, or you just do all the side quests, do all side boss battles, you're gonna get 100% on the side collectibles. So I enjoy that. So platinum wise, it's not hard at all. Now I'm not sure what people think about Final Fantasy mode because obviously I didn't play it with any rings and stuff. I didn't find it that hard, but I really wish it was even harder. So for me, it was like, if I had to rate a difficulty, just a pure difficulty, it's like a 4 out of 10, right? But yeah, over 150 hours for me. I really enjoyed it, and those some of the bad things, some of the good things. Now, how would I rate the game? And where would I put it in my Final Fantasy rankings? I would not put it as my #1 game. Top 5 definitely. And it's very hard for me to do the top 5 right off the bat. But I would say Obviously this game, OG Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and maybe Final Fantasy 10 come to mind without any order. And how I rate it, I'll rate it a 9.5 out of 10. Very close to a 10, but you know, smaller things in the game kept it from being a 10. But still, absolutely Game of the Year contender. I do think it's gonna be one of the top 6 games nominated. It's not gonna win, I don't think, but it's gonna win at least music, and absolutely it should win voice acting, specifically by Clive. Or Ben Starr in real life. He did a phenomenal job. He probably lost his mind a couple of times voice acting this. In the end, without spoiling, you can actually feel the passion in voice acting, how good it is. So huge shout out to him. Very incredible voice acting by everyone, but yeah, specifically him because obviously he did the most talking in the game. And that what is it. If I missed anything, make sure to ask the questions in the comment section, and I will obviously answer them. And Final Fantasy 16, incredible game. I will probably replay it on PC once it comes out one day. But yeah, this is a must play for PS5, obviously. Like, Game of the Year contender. If you have a PS5 and you have never played Final Fantasy, should you play this game? Absolutely. You don't have to play any Final Fantasy game if you want to play this game. Think about it like this. Let's say you play GTA 5 for the first time, right? You don't have to play GTA 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5, right? Or 4, I mean, obviously 5. But it's the same thing here. 9 has nothing to do with 11, nothing to do with 13, nothing to do with 15 and stuff like that. The only time they have to do with each other if there's like a -2. For example, 10-2, that's a sequel. Or the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy. They had 3 games where like it's in the 13 world, but they don't have to do it with anything else. So can you play this game? Absolutely. And that's basically it for me. If you enjoyed the video, if you watched the whole video, thank you so much. Don't forget to like the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.